presentation of TFNN. The Tom O'Brien Show is produced every business day. Tom takes your phone calls toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-873-7618.
Let's go to Eddie in Boca Raton. Hey, Eddie, what's going on?
Hey, Tom. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. Yourself?
Good, good. It is a treasure to have TFNN every hour during the trading day, to be there to help you, to guide you, and even to give you some peace of mind, or like that somebody else is there with you while you're trading this crazy market, either up or down.
Well, listen, we appreciate you growling and prowling with us out here, because we wouldn't be out here, folks, if we didn't have all you guys, gals, tigers and tigresses as clients. And, you know, the market teaches you every single day, man.
Now, Tom O'Brien.
What's going on, everybody? This is Jacob Shoup. You're watching the Tom O'Brien Show. I hope you all have had a fantastic day. Man, I've been running around all day. Of course, we had live trading Fridays with Larry Pesavento. That went off without a hitch. You go to our front page right here, look at live trading Fridays. The subscription is for 2 sessions, so you'll get to go all throughout the month of May. That is the second and fourth Friday of every month from 9 a.m. to noon Eastern time. Very good. And then, of course, just running around doing some other stuff. Then I was able to take a look at the market, and wow. I mean, hey, listen, you're up 0.68% right now, okay? Again, somewhat low volume here on the day. Let's take a look here. Yeah, it's been doing the whole thing. So you get a sell-off about 130, reach the low, crest and break through that 547, come right back up. I don't like the low volumeness, and really even looking at the, the yearly chart, I mean, this is very, very choppy, right? Almost kind of toppy action. We'll see what happens. I think things are still kind of in a tough spot. I saw this headline today, is a lot of he said, she said. This idea that I guess Trump is talking to China, and then China says they're not talking with America. And, I don't know who to believe on that. Again, this whole market's been very headline driven for quite a while. At least you look at some other stuff like in the bonds, you do have rates coming down. Okay, so that is somewhat positive. The Japanese USD Japanese yen recovering just a little bit right now, which is very positive as well. I think we might be green for the week. Yeah, it looks like we are, which is nice. So very good for that. That is some kind of moderate recovery in just how liquidity is acting, or how the money's acting. The composite trading up 1.11% at 17,358. Up 194 points. See the Dow Jones Industrial almost flat, but still above 40,000 at 40,109. With the dollar moving up a little bit higher, trading at 99.50, still below 100, but some nice movement to the upside. Crude oil trading up 0.67%. You have gold coming down for sure, which is nice. At least you're in equities. You have copper trading off about 0.47% at 483, and then silver. Silver's off 1.95%. I feel very bad for some of the silver bugs here. It's a coupling really with gold, right, for such a long time. And I think really what happened here is that gold is considered, something that central banks will hold. It's a safe haven to an extent, right? I don't think silver has that same kind of, occupies that same kind of throne that gold does. I think that's probably why you're not seeing this kind of reaction from silver. Of course, we had Tim Ord on yesterday. If I remember correctly what he was saying, he does think that you will have some movement to the upside in silver. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. You have Apple essentially flat, Bank of America up 0.19%, you have Citigroup up 0.38%, Celsius off a little bit as well. This has really run quite well in the recent months. Lucid up 1.63%, Meta. Tesla is the big one here, okay? So it's trading up 9.33%. What is the news with this, right? And this is some pretty good volume as well. We went over the earnings report that they had. It was not very solid in any capacity. I think a lot of people are saying, well, they already anticipated a bad earnings report. I think that was a very bad earnings report. What I was saying that day when we were going over the 10K was that there is a potential that a lot of this was skewed from the Model Y revamp and switching over. We will have to wait for the next kind of shipment reports and registration reports over the next few months to see if that really was the case. And, excluding that, the company would have done well. I've been seeing a lot of things online with people sharing emails from Tesla that are basically giving about $2,000 credit to anyone who wants to buy a new Model Y that had purchased one in the past. I don't know if that's necessarily bullish in any way. I mean, is that, maybe it kind of suggests that they're having a really hard time selling these things, So, and what I would say too, you would kind of anticipate a lot of hype around the new Model Y. And I think in the first kind of 2 weeks you saw that. And it seems like we might be trailing off a little bit on that. Point being is we're going to have to keep watching this very closely. What's going on today with this up 9.16%. So one of the things that I had said that I felt bearish about regarding their full self-driving is the regulatory framework for it, right? Just because they can get it working within June does not mean whatsoever that this will be widely adopted very quickly, that it'll even be legal to do in some areas. So I guess the news here is that Trump's transportation secretary, he unveiled new automated vehicle framework as part of an innovation agenda. Okay, so he says, quote, the administration understands that we're in a race with China to out-innovate and the stakes couldn't be higher. As part of DOT's innovation agenda, our new framework will slash red tape and move us closer to a single national standard that spurs innovation and safety. And this is with regards to full self-driving vehicles. So prioritize the safety, unleash automation, unleash innovation and enable commercial deployment of AVs, which is automated vehicles. That is bullish. That is bullish for Tesla wanting to do full self-driving. It doesn't mean that the minute it comes out, it's going to get adopted in a major way. It could, but that does, for me, kind of change a little bit of what I was looking at. I still think the stock is very expensive. Definitely looking at operating margin, definitely looking at, free cash flow. I think one positive thing I could really say is their cash to debt is unbelievable. It's very good. But we are now getting close to a $1 trillion market cap. And you're saying, well, Jacob, that's $100 billion away, according to Thinkorswim's market cap. That is not a lot for this stock to move in 2 days, in 3 days. So, you may, bar anything catastrophic, on the global scale, you could see this hitting 1 trillion pretty quickly. This is a pretty big move, So we'll see what happens. Can it hit 300? Of course it can. I think another thing too, with Optimus that I'm still bearish on, become more so on, is kind of the rollout of that, the adoption of Optimus. And then now, of course, this conversation surrounding how difficult it will be to get some of the rare earth elements required to make Optimus work. Those same rare earth elements are used in the motors for electric vehicles as well. So I'm curious if that has any kind of impact. So right there, folks, we'll be right back. We have a few other equities to look at during this hour.
If you spend any time online researching trading techniques on how to begin your trading journey, you've no doubt come across many folks who push Forex trading as a way to make big money quickly. Unfortunately, there are equally as many stories of these so-called Forex professionals just looking to make a quick buck off aspiring traders without actually teaching the ins and outs of the Forex market. This is what sets Teddy Keckstad's The Tiger Forex Report off the riffraff. Every Monday, former Chicago Mercantile Exchange member and author Teddy Keckstad releases his Tiger Forex Report newsletter, where he dives into the complex world of Forex and takes time to actually teach you his methods that have made him so successful in the fast-paced and rewarding world of Forex trading. Furthermore, all subscribers receive access to archived live streams of Teddy's, where he provides university-level education to help you in Forex trading. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Forex awaits.
The reality is that navigating financial markets can be risky. Markets can be chaotic and difficult to understand. Having the latest market advice can help you turn this chaos into a key for creating winning trades. At TFNN, we understand that it can be hard to find reliable market news. That's why each of our market experts offers their very own market newsletter, a must-have tool for every trader out there striving to find an edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets so you can analyze the market before you trade. Try any of our great newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Just visit the Newsletters tab on the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Are you ready to take charge of your financial future? TFNN is your gateway to the world of trading and investing. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, TFNN empowers traders and investors of all skill levels with top-notch investing systems, strategies, and techniques. It's time to protect and grow your money with insight you can trust. Join us live Monday through Friday during market hours for exclusive content that moves with the markets. At TFNN, we bring the trading floor to you. Our seasoned hosts are here to answer your calls and questions live on the air. Check out the Tiger's Den for just $1 and follow us on YouTube and become part of our vibrant community. And remember, at TFNN, we're so confident in the value we provide that we offer a 30-day money-back guarantee on all new premium newsletter subscriptions and services. You have absolutely nothing to risk, so why wait? Tune in live to Tiger TV and transform your trading journey, because when you know better, you invest better. Join us and experience the difference today. TFNN, educating investors.
Welcome back, everybody. Jacob Shoup, watch the Tom O'Brien Show. TGIF, folks. This is going to be a good weekend. I'm looking forward to some rest for sure. So long story short, Tesla does have some positive news for it. Some decent volume on the equity chart. Very light volume on the indices, particularly the SPY. We've seen that recently, right? And sometimes indicate that there's not a lot of buying in any capacity. I mean, the VIX is relatively low as well. I do kind of see somewhat of a pullback here still, if that becomes the case, right? And if we even get something, you test this gap or even kind of lower, that I will be probably considering adding more to any kind of equity position. Of course, in UUUU right now, while that is down today, and this is going to be in the near term, everything within rare earth elements is going to be quite aggressive, but we are still green since when we bought it, which is very nice, and I do want to hold that. They are going to have earnings out on May 8th. Again, I like their balance sheet a lot. I think it's very nice. I think they can fill the niche of rare earth elements, which can be very necessary for things like Optimus, for things like your EV motors and everything. We're going to stick in this. I do like this equity a lot, and we're going to see what happens with it. On that kind of note, with electric vehicles, I saw this ad earlier. This isn't a public company, so this is kind of just you and I chatting on a Friday, which is always nice. But it's called Slate Auto. I just wanted to throw this on your guys' radar because it's kind of interesting. So the whole idea with it, they're saying it's Bezos backed, which is interesting. Kind of cool too, because Amazon has been floating around that they've wanted to deliver vehicles as well, which is probably what they mean by Bezos backed. But the idea is it's a modular car, right? These are all panels that can be taken off and new ones can be put on. So it's not paint, it's these colored kind of panels. The base model is like this truck, right? Okay, again, modularity. So you can add this thing on the back, you can put, the bed comes out here and you can install seats. And I spent some time during lunch kind of just designing one because it was fun, I thought. The whole goal is at a baseline, these things are supposed to be about 20 grand, right? And that's going to be after, any kind of tax rebate or whatever it might be. Now, okay, let's be real, right? I've heard this way too many times with new vehicle companies to have any kind of confidence that they will be able to make it. And hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they will produce something kind of cool here and they can get it that low. But the whole idea is that there's a very very, very primitive base model, right? I mean, this has like crank handles and stuff, no speakers inside of it. Of course, you can pay to add those speakers to it. I don't know. It's interesting, there's a lot of people hating on it online right now, and I mean, maybe this isn't for the average person. I mean, maybe it is, right? I like companies that are attempting to at least do something unique. Maybe that doesn't mean I put my money in it. I can't do that anyways with Slate. But I like people attempting to solve a problem, which is that cars are unbelievably expensive for a lot of people right now. This may be able to somehow ameliorate that. It's interesting. It uses an 150 kilowatt motor, okay? Which is funny because you can buy those on Alibaba for like 15 grand or something like that. Apparently gets pretty decent horsepower, like north of 200. The battery, which is going to determine the range it can go, is you can get a bigger one, but it kind of is unfortunate about 150 miles. So, if you live in a city, maybe this is cool. I mean, they're smaller, right? I don't know. I want to throw that on the radar because it's kind of interesting, and why not be aware of something like this that's going on? Look, you just gotta drill these out and put a new wrap on it whenever you want, right? I do think they're like, okay, again, I'm not sure how, if it'll really be at this price or something, but I could definitely see there being a decent market for some of these kind of smaller, lower priced vehicles, right? I mean, a lot of people are kind of strapped right now, and it doesn't look bad either. You can charge via a house outlet too. It's very inefficient, but kind of interesting. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, check it out. I just want to throw it on your radar because I thought it was kind of interesting. Okay, what else do we want to look at today? There's a few equities. Kind of talk about Chipotle a little bit. So they, come down. The earnings was all right. Comes down a little bit, but it really is rallying up pretty decently right now. 4.81%. This is one that I didn't take a position either way, and I've never really covered Chipotle whatsoever. But the growth is interesting to me, okay? I mean, you have increasing net income, which is very good. That's the 10K. Yeah, on the 10K, it's great, but then even on their 10K, and then their 10Q, you have some increase as well, from the year prior, which is positive because I really have seen a lot of negative sentiment towards Chipotle recently. It, I think, is getting outcompeted, again, at least in my kind of area and among the people I know, by Kava Group, which is one that I am, what is that, 10.6 billion, 69, might be worth doing kind of I would have to spend some more time on it, but a comparison between Chipotle and Kava, because I've heard people say, oh, one's Mexican food and the other is some kind of weird hybrid Mediterranean. The point is that they sell food in a bowl that you select from a line, and that really does make them competitors in a major way, right? And there are comparisons drawn between Kava and Chipotle. So in a lot of ways, they are competitors in this way. Over the past few years, I mean, I stopped going to Chipotle a while ago because I got sick twice from it, and I'm just not going to do that. I feel like the quality has gone down quite a bit. A lot of people say the same thing. It's very messy now, at least in the ones that I've gone to in the area, but this is voiced online too. Kava, according to PE, is actually a little bit more expensive than Chipotle. But it's impressive to me that they actually are still growing. So I think that is a positive for Chipotle. I don't like the company beyond just, their reporting. So it's not something that I'm interested in. They had some issues with people ordering off DoorDash, which definitely is a problem. But if you're still getting revenue increasing, even among a sea of really, really negative commentary on the restaurant, I think that's kind of a positive sign, right? Of course, they're turning things around. One thing I say, and we do this with some of these consumer brands, right? Like when we had Coca-Cola right before earnings, I presented this whole thing that the sentiment in a lot of different spaces online, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all this kind of stuff. Even looking at Google Trends, you have a renewed interest in this product, right? And I was going to go ahead and said that, Diet Coke probably is going to really move this up. And Coke had good earnings prior. But the issue that's going on is they're increasing their prices, right? So they actually had a lower volume of sales, but the price increase allowed them to see an increase in revenue. So, that's not great, really, longer term. But it seems like they did rebound. So we've got Coca-Cola, made some pretty good, decent money on the earnings. And Chipotle, with that negative sentiment, it's actually still doing okay, which is unique to me, versus the way that we've made money in the past, including Coca-Cola, by looking up some of these trends. Folks, stay there. We'll be right back. We'll talk just a little bit more about Chipotle. Then I want to go into Nebius and Supercom a little bit.
Many trading newsletters attempt to focus on a narrow set of equities or commodities. While this works for some, it oftentimes misses many opportunities that possess huge gain potential. But how is an independent trader supposed to scan the entire market looking for these hidden opportunities? One simple answer: the opening call newsletter. Basil Chapman, developer of the Chapman Wave trading methodology, has been trading the markets for longer than most trading influencers have been alive. And over that time, he has honed his methodology in order to accurately call movements in a wide range of equities, from semiconductors to uranium to key indices and so much more. Basil is old school, taking the time to educate the trader while also giving his insights into key indices, selective stocks, and more. Opening call subscribers also receive access to dozens of educational live streams that can be accessed at any time for your edification. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So ignore the pop trading influencers and start learning time-tested technical analysis.
Steve Rhodes started his trading career as a student almost 20 years ago, and the student has now become the master. Steve won the prestigious Timer of the Year award in 2018 and barely missed that mark again in 2019, finishing at number 2 for the year. An amazing accomplishment. Steve Rhodes is committed to sharing his techniques and knowledge with anyone who wants to learn, and he shares his vast amount of trading knowledge every day in his Mastering Probability newsletter. Steve's award-winning newsletter, Mastering Probability, is delivered every trading day with updates throughout the afternoon. Sign up for Steve's market newsletter, Mastering Probability, and you'll receive access to 7 of Steve's educational webinars absolutely free. At TFNN, all our newsletters come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Visit TFNN.com and try Mastering Probability 30 days risk-free today. TFNN, educating investors.
This year has already been a wild ride for the market. We started off heavily in the red, traversed back to all-time highs, and we now have a trade war looming. Trying to play this chop as an individual trader leads to death by 1,000 cuts. Where does this market go next? Should I add to this position or cut my losses? Where is the next opportunity? Tariffs, trade wars, analysis paralysis. Don't become a victim of this intense market. Instead, join Larry Pesavento for the second and fourth Friday of every month for 3 hours of live trading. Larry has been through many markets just like this one, and the insight he provides is invaluable. The dates for this month are April 11th and 25th, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern Time. Get in here and let's start trading. TFNN, educating investors.
This portion of the Tom O'Brien Show is brought to you by Direxion's daily leveraged and inverse ETFs. Whether you're a bull or a bear, you choose the direction. Visit Direxion.com. Investing in the funds involves significant risk and should only be utilized by investors who understand the impact of leverage and actively monitor their portfolio. They are not designed to track the underlying index or security for more than a day. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risk, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at Direxion.com. Read carefully. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Welcome back, everybody. Jacob Shoup, watch the Tom O'Brien Show. But yeah, Big Bear. Dan, what happened with this company up 24.34%? Of course, we've covered this quite a bit. Next gen submarine construction using AI and digital twins. Well, it attaches AI machine learning powered heavy manufacturing planning and production platform for the Austal USA, one of the largest shipbuilders in the United States, and a module supplier of U.S. Navy submarines. And to support for significant modernization investments at its Mobile, Alabama headquarters, Austal will leverage Big Bear AI shipping and software platform, Shipyard AI. Huh. What is the contract size on this? Because you remember, yeah, Dan, yeah, absolutely. The current admin is definitely big on shipbuilding in the U.S. Do you know the contract size for it? He's a former Trump admin. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a play, right? Like seeing where these, I mean, CTM, you know, not Trump admin, of course, but I mean, Castellum, these guys have like deep connections with the military. I'm really curious to see what their earnings will be, because man, they have gotten a lot of contracts since we went over them last. They're paying down their debt in a major way. No contract size, that's fine. For BBAI, I mean, but like to that point, right? Like these companies that have connections are the ones that are really getting a lot of these contracts. I mean, Castellum has performed very well. Talking about price wise, right? I mean, we did get to a low about what, like 79. That would have been, let's see here. Yeah, like 82 roughly or something like that. Tested it, and it's been holding up very well. I'm really looking forward to seeing the earnings on Castellum. For Big Bear AI, you know, they had some pretty gnarly earnings. Their EPS was very negative. What is that, 1 billion? Yeah, Dan, you know, I'll look a lot closer to see what this was. They're getting a lawsuit. You know, we went over Big Bear. The idea that they're, you know, what they're trying to do with basically like AI on IoT or like factory lines is really cool. So, you know, we'll see what happens with that. Maybe I'll do a recover on Big Bear on Monday or something. All right, let's look. I won't talk much further about Chipotle just because I want to do really what I want to do is look at it in context to what I believe is its strongest competitor, which is going to be Kava. The last thing I will say on it for right now regarding kind of the news that is swirling around on multiple spots online. Again, this is things like Instagram. These are things like Twitter and TikTok as well, which I got to tell you, if that's not something that you consider when you're looking at consumer sentiment, I really recommend at least giving it some kind of weight, right? You don't have to do the full thing at all. But, you know, we've played a lot of, you know, a few consumer equities based on stuff like that. And of course, you have to consider, you know, cash flow, where they're at, what they're expanding to, what their risk exposure is for sure. But you know, listening to that kind of, that public sentiment is very important for companies like this, right? Because that's what it's all about, you know? I mean, if you start getting to a place where you think Chipotle is like a large swath of people view it as not very appealing in any way, because maybe they view the restaurants as a little bit unsanitary or whatever it might be, that can really hit negatively. You know, they've been in a tough spot recently. As Dude said in the den, yes, they're opening up in Mexico. That's interesting. I don't necessarily have an opinion on that. My initial kind of thought is that is that'll be interesting to see if a very Americanized Tex-Mex company can make it in Mexico. You know, maybe American culture is just so dominant that people would like it anyways. I remember being at the Chipotle grill in Frankfurt, Germany, and I was like blown away how many people. When I was there, I was the only one in the country. I'm sure there's more now, but there are a lot of people in it. So you talk about Mexico, you know, I think initially someone's snap reaction would be, well, why on earth would Mexican, you know, people in Mexico want to eat some weird, you know, derivative of their food? And I mean, I get that perspective, but maybe that's not the case, you know? So we'll see what happens. It, of course, does give them of course, more risk exposure in case it doesn't work, and that could be very gnarly for them. Additionally, one of the images that's floating around, and I've seen this in all three of those apps that I've spoken about, is that it seems like, and this is on Reddit as well, and it's gotten a lot of views on Reddit, but that the bulls are smaller. Okay, so the prices are staying the same. This is kind of what the news CEO was saying during the webcast post-earnings. Is that we're going to keep prices pretty stationary because we don't know if the tariffs will cause a one-time increase in price. Will it affect us in any major way at all? Will there be continual increases in price going forward? So, initially that sounds great. Like, okay, that of course can cut into their margins if it does come to pass that the tariffs really do affect them. But then with this kind of suggestion that maybe they're using smaller bulls, and that spreading around, if that is the concept people have in their mind, now that's something Chipotle has to address if it's not true, which takes a lot of resources and may not change everyone's opinion. Or if it is the case, it really could long-term affect people wanting to buy there, because why on earth would you want to pay more for less? So interesting with Chipotle. We'll do something next week looking at it compared to Cava. Cava, I guess, is more expensive if you consider the PE ratio right now. But man, I've been eating at Cava, and let me tell you, it is pretty good. They're due May 15th as well. Okay, let's take a look at Nebius. Okay, so this is one that we were in for a while, rode it, took some okay profits, and then really got out before it started cratering like this. So trading up at 24.22, you're off about 1% today. This is actually an email that I received from someone asking me to go over it. I think, just reading it then, I think the reason why I might have received this email is because it's floating around that they have earnings today. I cannot find that on their website. I know it says it's scheduled, but as we have run into multiple times on this show, that is not always the case, right? So I can't find anything on their website that their earnings are for today. Of course, this is not listed either on Thinkorswim, but again, Thinkorswim is wrong too, but usually when they will predict earnings when there are none. I've not seen it before where they just don't talk about it at all. So we'll see what happens. What is my current feeling on Nebius? So we'll go through here. Their Q4 was a little bit less than anticipated. Okay, so again, the group's revenue was increased to 466% over the year. We have to keep in mind, though, that this was initially Yandex, okay? And then you have this massive divestment out of Russia, and you're really starting again. So, that only gets you a revenue total of $37.9 million. It is a phenomenal growth, but it kind of makes sense of a company this size and what they're in. It isn't necessarily... we'll stay right there. We'll be right back. We'll talk some more about it.
If you're looking for potential trading setups in the stock market, then Rocket Equities and Options Report is a newsletter you should try. Tommy O'Brien delivers options and equity trades when the markets present them, using a combination of fundamentals and technicals. Sign up for Rocket Equities and Options Report today with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to risk. For all the details and to start your subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors. For traders who crave risk, Direxion's daily leveraged and inverse ETFs provide opportunities to magnify short-term perspectives with up to 3 times a daily leverage, utilize bull and bear funds from both sides of the trade, and trade through rapidly changing markets. These are highly leveraged ETFs with daily resetting designed for short-term trading, not long-term investing. Whether you're a bull or a bear, you choose the Direxion. For up-to-date pricing and performance, go to Direxion.com. Investing in the fund involves significant risk and should only be utilized by investors who understand the impact of leverage and actively monitor their portfolio. They are not designed to track the underlying index or security for more than a day. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risk, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at Direxion.com. Read carefully. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
The reality is that navigating financial markets can be risky. Markets can be chaotic and difficult to understand. Having the latest market advice can help you turn this chaos into a key for creating winning trades. At TFNN, we understand that it can be hard to find reliable market news. That's why each of our market experts offers their very own market newsletter. A must-have tool for every trader out there striving to find an edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets so you can analyze the market before you trade. Try any of our great newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Just visit the Newsletters tab on the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
TFNN has launched the Tiger's Den, hosted at Discord. TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. The Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. Sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders. Just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
This program is brought to you by Vista Gold, traded on the NYSE American and TSX under the symbol VGZ.
Tom O'Brien.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Jacob Shoup watching the Tom O'Brien Show. We got one last full segment here. Taking a look at Nebius before we went to the break. I got an email earlier in the day because I had covered this in the past. First question, why did it go down so much? Well, okay, I mean, this was a pretty... when it got to this point, I did take a little bit off because that was a pretty gnarly run-up for the equity. That is still, there's still some speculation to this, right? I think there's some, firm foundation for it, but this is still speculative, right? And then again, of course, you saw what happened with CoreWeave that affected it, and this really does coincide with general sell-off you saw in tech and some apprehension, I would say, maybe around AI cloud providers or cloud providers in general. I do think that the earnings for scalers have really been actually somewhat impressive. So that could bode well for Nebius. Of course, they have expanded out into the US as well. Recently, they expanded into Paris, France, which is very nice. That I believe will be probably a pretty strong center for things like cloud compute in Europe and things like AI. Of course, they have a lot of nuclear power over there. They're in Finland as well, expanding into some Asian countries. I believe Malaysia was the one they're getting into. Now, that sounds all good, but that is a lot of capital expenditure, okay? And they, for the year, okay, listen, just even for Q4 of last year, okay, you're dealing with the CapEx of $417 million, okay, yeah, over the year, that's $808 million, so this stuff is ramping up, okay. I think capital expenditure, while at some point that will probably kind of stunt out at some point, right, what it does is, again, I think there's a ramp that's probably going to happen as they keep continuing to try to build out. That's a lot of money they have to spend. Point being, they're blowing a ton of money. One of the things we liked about Nebius before, we were seeing how much they were spending, was how much cash they had, right? Zero debt, about $2.1 billion in cash, right? And you have this market cap of about $5.5 billion. Seems pretty cool, This is spending a lot of money, okay? And then so for the total year, the 12 months ending December 31st, 2024, that's $808.1 million. So for that entire year, if you're considering, CapEx is not really going to come down. I mean, in fact, it's probably going to expand by a lot the further you get out. You look just as it stands of $1.2 billion expenditure, okay? That's not even on top of the cash outflow from operations, okay, which is going to total over the year $319.6 million. Okay, that's pretty intense, huh? Your net loss from continuing operations of $136.6 million. These guys are burning money. So I think that does kind of negate a little bit how much we like the cash position, because it might seem that you're going to have to do something to raise capital here, especially as they're continuing to expand. What is interesting, we'll talk about this, right? Okay, so December 2024 ARR for Nebius was 90 million. That is below guidance, primarily due to longer lead times for customer acquisition. hate hearing that, you know. The company was in the process, and they're saying, though, this is because they're in the process of building out its sales and marketing teams and also migrating customers. Maybe we can be a little bit forgiving because they've had to really pivot for what they were. Again, CEO and the team, very competent people, and this is proven multiple times, right? Okay, so maybe we can be a little forgiving with that. Based on the contracts already in place, he says that the March annual recurring revenue will be at least $220 million, and that is just based on current contracts, as I said. And he said the company has additional potential deals in the pipeline. In Q4, Nebius expanded its client count, focusing on AI native companies such as AI model developers, tool developers, inference providers, including several prominent names in the industry. Yeah, and I kind of want to say, I know we had that whole fiasco with TD Cowen making 2 large posts saying that it seems like these guys, big hyperscalers, are cutting down on building out data center space. That was, I mean, easily kind of negated the first time because earnings had just come out and those companies aren't going to pivot like that, like within less than a week, right? But then additionally, you just had Amazon and NVIDIA come out and say that's not the case whatsoever. Okay, so the infrastructure fully, and again, this is going to increase these guys' cost for quite a while. Nebius continued scaling capacity with key expansion in Kansas City, obviously AI capital of the country, set to go live at the end of Q1 2025, so we'll be looking for that as well in earnings. It will initially house thousands of NVIDIA Hopper GPUs. The facility is expandable to 40 megawatts. Okay, they're in Paris, France with Tensor Core GPUs, very solid. Q4, they have a bunch of Grace Hoppers, nearly doubled quarter over quarter. And intention to deploy 22,000 Blackwell GPUs in data centers and in Finland. Finland seems like a weird spot, but it's actually a pretty cool place if you want to store data because they have very, very good data protection laws. I know that sounds weird, but okay, so why even bring that up further? Because who cares about Finland? But you should, because if we're going to keep following what the Europeans are kind of saying they're doing, and who knows, right? But this idea that they're seeking to, decouple from U.S. Kind of data providers or data storage providers, we should take that somewhat seriously. I'm not saying that actually 100% happens. Of course, they are doing the first thing they said they were going to do, which is spend a lot on military. So they might really be waking up and say, hey, we need to do something that is going to make us a little bit more preserve our self-determination here. Nebius, if they decide to do that, right? If they really dig in and they lower, regulation and they start building AI to compete and they say, hey, we really need to provide our own kind of stuff here as far as compute and cloud storage is concerned, Nebius will be, first and foremost, the company that will get that because they are very, very prominent in Europe. Arcadie's been doing this kind of stuff. This is CEO, obviously in Russia and to some extent in some of the European countries for quite a while. So they could benefit from that. Of course, you have a revenue line of AV Ride. This is not something that I'm necessarily super hyped about, but it's not necessarily negative. It doesn't seem like capital expenditure or operating costs are that high for it, but what AV Ride is, of course, is a self-driving kind of program. And what they're doing is they're going to college campuses in the US and they have some contracts for this. And, instead of doing like a DoorDash or the human, they put it in a little robot and send it somewhere. I know people really hype that up, especially like super strong Nebius bears. Remains to be seen if that, necessarily matters. But really want to focus on the core kind of business here. What is the takeaway here? Give me a second. Look at this. Yeah, even AV Ride in their report wasn't massive in any capacity. They're just expanding. They have 100 robots operating as of January 2025. The takeaway here is that they still have a lot to grow. There's going to be a lot of CapEx that they still have to deploy here, or that they still have to, kind of withstand, I guess, That is going to burn through that sweet $2.1 billion and no debt. They're probably going to take on some more debt. They might shares, issue more. Who knows? It seems like there is a very good demand for their products since the release of this report. They're talking about it consistently, but the fact remains is they're burning a lot of money. Folks, stay right there. We'll be right back.
Many trading newsletters attempt to focus on a narrow set of equities or commodities. While this works for some, it oftentimes misses many opportunities that possess huge gain potential. But how is an independent trader supposed to scan the entire market looking for these hidden opportunities? One simple answer: the opening call newsletter. Basil Chapman, developer of the Chapman Wave trading methodology, has been trading the markets for longer than most trading influencers have been alive. And over that time, he has honed his methodology in order to accurately call movements in a wide range of equities, from semiconductors to uranium to key indices and so much more. Basil is old school, taking the time to educate the trader while also giving his insights into key indices, selective stocks, and more. Opening call subscribers also receive access to dozens of educational live streams that can be accessed at any time for your edification. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So ignore the pop trading influencers and start learning time-tested technical analysis.
In the world of trading, only a few names stand out like Larry Pesavento, a pro's pro with over 50 years of experience. Larry has seen it all. A former Chicago Mercantile Exchange member, Larry has authored 10 books and trained over 1,000 traders with his unmatched expertise. Introducing Fibonacci 24/7, Larry Pesavento's daily trading service that turns the complexity of markets into opportunities. Published every Sunday, receive a comprehensive report packed with detailed commentary, charts, and videos that illuminate the patterns shaping the markets, with updates throughout the week exclusively for subscribers. Whether through charts or videos, Larry's analysis is your roadmap to navigating the markets. You can sign up now at TFNN.com for just $97. And with all TFNN newsletters backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to risk. For all the details, visit TFNN.com. You'll find Fibonacci 24/7 right under the newsletters tab.
The reality is that navigating financial markets can be risky. Markets can be chaotic and difficult to understand. Having the latest market advice can help you turn this chaos into a key for creating winning trades. At TFNN, we understand that it can be hard to find reliable market news. That's why each of our market experts offers their very own market newsletter. A must-have tool for every trader out there striving to find an edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets so you can analyze the market before you trade. Try any of our great newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Just visit the Newsletters tab on the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN. Educating investors.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Jacob Shoup, Watch Tom O'Brien Show. We have a short segment here, and then we are off for the weekend. How does that sound? I think that's a good deal. Take a look at Nebius right now. You're off 0.7%, trading at 24.29. They are burning a bunch of capital. Okay, we've established that they're probably obviously at some point going to have to raise that capital, whether it's assuming more debt, whether it is issuing new shares, which would be unfortunate. AV Ride, somewhat interesting. I guess I was looking at one of the releases for AV Ride, and it says they have about 112 robots deployed, 80,000 deliveries in one semester at Ohio State. Around 1,300 deliveries and 10,000 crossings on a typical day. And then they're actually looks like they're going to try to make a deal with Hyundai and see if in some way they can work together. I just, I think it's very early. I mean, the Ohio State thing is nice, but it's a little early to try to, I think, price that in a massive way. I'll try to look and see what that contract size is for AV Ride. If it's just kind of time locked, if it is something like a mileage lock, if it is per order or whatever, it might be. So we'll take a look at that. I think one of the things that I say that I think is near-term bullish. So as it stands now, I think it's kind of priced, might be even a little bit pricey, considering that they're blowing so much capital. I think the earnings will not be super bad for them. You take a look at how some of these other cloud companies were doing over earnings. Google Rev was very good for them. Nebius does offer cheaper GPU hours than I think just about anyone else. So that is appealing for them as well. So you might get a lot of people using that. They had very positive things to say mid-quarter about the demand for their compute. So, I'm undecided currently on Nebius, but that is all of the data for Nebius, especially the individual asking me. So kind of take with it what you want from that. Maybe I'll take a little closer look this weekend and see if there's something I want to get back into, or if I'm just too concerned about the amount of money they're burning. Folks, thank you so much for joining me. We will see you Monday. Have a great, fantastic weekend.